The loan officer I'm talking to closed over 150 loans last year, and she wants to close more. But her issue is she does a very unique type of loan set, and she had a lot of knowledge that's stuck up in her head that she's not been able to get into her team, which means that she's having to constantly jump into files and get them closed. So we talk about the best way for her to approach it, that she can get her knowledge into her team so then she can focus in on getting more business. Check it out on this Loan Officer Hotline. I appreciate you hopping on, and we'll jump into things. And so we're going to go talk about what's going on in your business. I looked at your intake form, and you actually have, like, metric-wise, things are looking pretty solid. So correct me if I'm wrong in any of the which way. You're around 30 leads per month. 50% of them are turning into pre-approvals. That sound right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And the last few months, generally, you make between 50, 70K a month, which is huge, which is awesome. Congratulations. The last few months have been down a little bit. But here where I was not sure where you wanted to focus on today, because it looks like you have two things, and we could talk about both of them. I say a little extra time today should work out. Is operations, one, and then two is that you're wanting to talk about generating more systems and such to generate more business, marketing. Is that what?
Yeah, I think I need to get more organized and maybe have like a social media manager, and then I guess more systems to keep up with the leads, because everything's manual.
Manual? Okay. Which one do you want to tackle first?
I guess operations.
All right, operations. I'm glad you said that. And so a lot of times I talk to a lot of loan officers, and as you know, and there are two main problems a loan officer can encounter. And sometimes it's both. Usually it's one or the other, but then one can then lead to the other. There is what's called supply constraint, and then there's demand constraint. Demand constraint means that you simply don't have enough business coming in. You do, but you know that you can get a lot more, right? You know you can do that, which we'll talk about. But then there's the supply constraint, is being able to handle the business that you have, and being able to do that. And that sounds like is one of the things that if you were to fix that, then you'd be able to breathe a little easier and then focus more on getting more demand in. Would that be fair enough to say?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. And so I know you have a little bit of a team, and I'm going to use your words and that you shared on here, because I think this is where, if we look to address this is going to help. And I'll share some things that I have done and some others that have done too that have really helped. And then we'll talk about maybe your file flow and maybe some specifics into that. But is this line here: tired of having assistants, or tried, I need to be able to read my glasses, tried hiring assistants, but they don't care if loans close and don't know how to fix problems since it's all in my brain. It's that last part that we're going to talk about here. They don't have the experience in my niche. And we don't need to talk about your niche in there, because this will apply to everything. But it's the top part, talking about getting the things out of your brain. But the first part is the very first thing that I have learned over the course of my career, and stop me at any time if you have questions or interject or disagree on it, is that first part, is that people, they will never, and most, I should say not all people, but the majority of people, they will never care as much as the owner does. And nor should they to agree. Yes, they should care because of it's their paycheck, it's their career, how they feed their families, but they're never going to be as invested into the business as the person that owns the business in most cases. Now, there are always exceptions to that rule, of course, but I don't like to do things based on exceptions. And so that is something that I actually heard from, I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk, said something along those lines. And while I didn't like to hear it, it was refreshing in a ways, because, okay, then I need to do is, what do I need to do to mitigate that as much as I can? So that comes to the next part of your thing you shared. Would you say that the bigger issue is not so much as that they don't care as much, but they don't have your knowledge base and they don't understand how to fix the problems as well as you do?
Yeah, I think they get overwhelmed when there's like a problem that comes up. They don't know how to solve it. They don't go like jump in and figure it out. They're just like, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm not going to.
Yeah. So the path of least resistance. Okay. What's your structure with them from a day in, day out, week in, week out of training, staying in touch with them, just that kind of communication?
Like I will be on Zoom all day with them and teach them everything I know, like go through the pipeline, how to solve this problem when they come up. But it's just like random little things that come up that are so different on each file.
Yeah.
So I'm just usually available in Zoom when those pop up, but sometimes they won't hop in Zoom and don't ask for help and then just kind of like, let it go and let the file drop off and I don't know.
And so I'll try to keep talking as I'm trying to figure this out here. So like, is it like a file in process, or is it like pre-approvals, or is it just everything?
Everything. Like, sometimes I get some pretty complicated pre-approvals and I'll help them figure that out. But then if something pops up in underwriting, they're not really sure how to fix it.
Okay. And how do you go about when you do have a problem that needs to be fixed?
I usually just call a bunch of account executives or just ask the right questions, or there's things in my brain of like tricks to getting around things that I know. I don't know, just from experience, I guess.
Okay, so through the AEs, reaching out to them, and then through your brain, do you have a documented process of like, hey, like when you come to a problem, that these are the steps that you need to implement?
No.
Okay, so one thing I would say is when we look at our employees is that you're going to have a variety of different levels of employees, and as your stage of your business grows, is that then you have to kind of decide is where you want to take it in quality. And so, for instance, like there's A players, B players, so on and so forth. And so I'm going to remove is like C players is that we want to get rid of, and those are people where if you can avoid it, is like you got to hire them or build them from complete scratch. I mean they don't know anything about mortgages or know anything about sales and any of that kind of stuff. Like for instance, a brand new loan officer, right? Like if you were to ask me, should I hire a brand new loan officer and then I'd train them up? In most cases, I would say no, is because the amount of time you'd have to invest to get them up to even a B tier is going to be troublesome. There's always the exception of what people I call our blue chip prospects, that sort of thing. But that's more the rarity than anything else. But then you're gonna have your B players. Those are your doers. Your doers. Generally speaking, is a lot of them are not going to be they're not. What I'll say is they're not builders. So I'll put builders here. They're not builders, and builders are the ones that tend to figure things out. And those are where you get more of your A players, and those are the ones that you transcend into leadership. Those are the ones that over the course of time that they are able to run a department and train your team, manage your team, and all those kinds of things. And I'm going to ask you, do you have anybody that's currently in a doer position, or that is a doer that you've noticed? Is it everybody in your team that's just doers, or do you have anybody that is got in the builder standpoint of things?
Let's see, I've got Terrence. He seems to be in between, I guess, because he actually has created whole groups of students that he teaches ground up construction to, but he's
Okay.
a new loan officer, but he understands the concept because he's in the investor world and all that. So, and he's been in car sales, so it was a pretty easy conversion because they have read sheets like we do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he is out getting business and doing things, but he gets distracted sometimes and then was like, I don't feel like doing this anymore.
Yeah. Well, what about from your operations team where you're having struggles with operations? Do you have anybody are they all just doers, or do you have anybody that you see potential as a builder if they were given that sort of responsibility?
I guess all I have right now is 2 VAs, and then
Uh-huh.
other than that, I'm just doing everything myself.
Okay, so we need to, which color do I want to use here? I guess it doesn't really matter. Is that this is you, and this is your team, your 2 VAs here that you have. Right now, everything is inside of your head, right? We need to, one, try to transfer some of this into them, of course, but you can't do that on every single time basis that it's necessary that it needs to happen. Every time there's a problem, you need to create an SOP, standard operating procedure or protocol, whatever it is that these are the steps that you follow when you run into an issue. And so it's like, okay, is, for instance, you talk about contact the AE. Now you would fill this out on whatever these protocols are, the AE, right? That's one step. If it's from your brain, it needs to get documented. You have to document it, create a master doc. I know you use AI quite a bit. Is use something along those lines where they can create a researchable. Kelly is, how do I search Kelly's brain? Well, every time something happens, it comes into there. The same thing that you'd want to do is if there's a thing they need to do tech wise is record it and create that sort of thing. And what will happen over the course of time is that as they have this SOP is that you create is you have a problem is that first is that you follow the protocol is you go to the AE or you go to the brain first or the one that you put down, then the AE. If you don't have it there, then I'm your last stop. Is that they come to you there. And to retrain them to do this is because that's going to free you up time, free you up bandwidth. Now, in order to implement this can't be something that you just throw at them and say, here's our new protocol. This is something that has to be reinforced over and over and over and through regular meetings that you have with them, like a regular, even 15, 30-minute pipeline meeting to start the day off every day is if you have it, okay, protocol, you go through, okay, what's going on? Let's hit the problems. What did you be done to try to solve it, right? And then it's like, did you go to the A? Did you this? And reinforce that. They come to you as, hey, Kelly, we have a problem. Okay, what did you first try to do to solve it? I went to AE at this company, I did this. Is this the right way to go? Yes, it is. No, it's not. No, it's not. Here's why. It's because of this. Then it comes back into you put it into the brain. And this is something that, Chris, my business partner, Chris, we screwed up royally from the get-go. Like when we first started building businesses and only recently in the last probably year where it really hit us in the head that we were only hiring and not even just hiring is that we were creating doers. People that just did. And they had to receive the inputs from Chris and I in order for them to have an output. And even people that had the capacity to do building and create those things and think for themselves, if you will, is that we conditioned them to just do, always coming back to us. And when we weren't as busy or didn't have as much going on, you didn't even think about it because, oh yeah, here's the answer, right? But then as you get busier, you have more going on, those questions become more frequent, they're always seeking you, right? So we have to retrain them to do it, but then we have to give them the procedure to follow. Like for instance, now that we have our SOPs for the people we have in place, our builders and stuff, is there still the fallback plan is like, what do they need to do? And when do we meet to discuss if it has to go to the DJ level or the Chris level?
Okay.
Hey, real quick, if you're a loan officer or a branch manager and your business is stuck, whether it's because you don't have enough business coming in or you're having trouble getting the business closed, I want to help you. I do free loan officer hot seats where I invite loan officers on one at a time and I help them fix the biggest issue in their business that's stopping them from to grow. Now, if this is something that interests you, in the description is an intake form. Fill that out, let me know a little bit about your business and I'll personally review it. If it's something I think that it can help, then my team will reach out to you and we'll get you scheduled for one of our upcoming hot seats.
So like if you don't have a person that's one of the two that you think that could potentially be a builder and they can help design this stuff, you're just gonna have to do it yourself, which is fine. That's like Chris and I, we have everything we've done for the most part. We are the ones that designed it, put people in place, and now we're finally to the spot that we can have somebody to, now they design a new part of our business that we want to do. And being where your finances are, are at, and you get your production up a little bit more, that wouldn't be a bad potential hire for you down the, the near future. Somebody that can build that department, if that makes sense.
What kind of person would you hire for that? Because I've got the VAs, but they can just do, basic stuff. But I would like to have an assistant to help set up files and just get them trained, and they can, do rate quotes, pick programs, and then I just have to bring in the leads.
Yeah, so when you say set up files, I just want to be clear, because some loan officers have different things when they say set up. They just mean like register and disclose. Other means that, hey, they get the app, they structure the whole thing. Which do you mean in that?
Taking the application and structuring.
Okay. Right off the bat, we should talk, because we've been doing a lot more of that as of late. The only thing that that gives me any hesitate for pause is what we've been doing is that your business is not all the traditional government stuff and conforming stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so it has an even additional level of knowledge. And so that is the tricky thing for yours is that, but that's something that can easily be done, quickly be done. Like if you had somebody that could take your stuff and get you to 80% or 90%, would you find that valuable?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. So we've been doing it, and I don't do this hotline, by the way, to try to sell services for anybody watching this sort of thing. But we've been starting to help some with that front end process. But it's all been on the conforming side of things. And I know yours is a little bit different, but we would still need to, if you got that person, because what I don't want you to do is go get a jaded loan officer that thinks they know everything, and they're going to want ridiculous amount of money to do something that is very, I won't say simple, but it's not worth 50, 75 basis points per loan for them to do, which is what a lot of jaded loan officers are going to want, right? And so you want to avoid that. I hate paying on basis points when I can avoid it from that regard. But if we still have this part here, where if we get somebody that can do that front end, even 80%, they still have to be able to have this SOP is to fill in the blanks. So they can go from 80 to 90, then eventually to 95 to where they're almost to your level, right? So there would be the stages there, but this is, I want to call it easy for us, but we have this. And when I say this, normally it'd be over 90%, but being with your niche, I would say 80, because it might even be simpler in some regards. There's less things that are needed in some, but there's still much more of the nuance and complexity of various different types of potentials. As you know, I'm trying to keep things very vague so I don't get into your specialty. But then to get them to here.
Okay.
That would be something that we have, and we've tapped into some new sources. We're a market. When I say no sources, markets where when I was running my branch, we did almost 300 loans with all this stuff. Right? Is that I did not have the talent that we're finding now for this type of position. I wish I did, which is really exciting. But that will get you there if that can free you up on the front end. If you were able to free up on the front end, would that be able to help you then improve your back end?
Yeah, totally. The only thing I worry about is when people get sent to me, it's because they know my name personally, not a business name. So
yeah.
How do you structure that with having someone else communicate for you?
Yeah, this was what I did, because if I say I got a lead and it was a text message or whatever from a realtor or email, whatever, I'd forward it to my assistant and LOA, whatever position you want to call it. She would call up, and let's just say the lead name is John. Hey, John, this is Jane. I work with DJ Christofferson. Your realtor or whoever referred you over to DJ. Does that sound right? Oh, yeah. Hey, the reason I'm giving you a call is DJ's in a meeting right now, and he did not want you to wait to hear back from him. So, speed's important to us. So I'm giving you a call, and what I needed to do, and then whatever your process is to get the application. You structure it that way, you will never have problems. The key is that they got to connect themselves to both you and the referral source.
Okay.
And oftentimes I'd even have her refer to the referral source first because that's who they know. Hey, this is Jane. You know, your realtor, John Doe, asked me to reach out. Referred you over to us. Yes, great. Well, I work with DJ, the loan officer, but he's in the meeting right now, and he wanted me to call you because he doesn't want you to wait.
Okay.
Works perfectly. I don't think that I've ever had an issue with that once in my life.
Cool. That works.
Yep, you'll like that. They'll save you a ton of time. No more chasing. Like I did a lot of my apps over the phone, so what I would even have her do, so this saved me a ton of time as well, is that she then immediately schedule the call with me there. So then I never had a scheduled appointment. I just showed up. It was there. They were ready. You know, made things very simple.
Okay, that works.
Great. So let me see what we still got a little bit of time here. Let's talk. Let me see. Let me pull this up here. And your business growth. Where do you think your opportunities are for that? Where do you want to go? Like,
Honestly, just actually posting stuff on social media, because I don't post anything right now. Like, I do absolutely no marketing at all. But I actually hired a guy. He's setting up an automation for me. It's super like specialized, or like what do you call that? It's basically a cold outreach. It'll go scrape TikTok and Instagram and find people who invest in real estate and start messaging them for me.
okay.
So I don't know how that's going to go. Didn't want to get my hopes up and think that I would get a ton, but he seems to think that I'm going to need extra people to help. So I don't know.
Extra people to help with the files,
Yeah.
the lead flow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's for sure, if that starts producing for you, let's meet again and talk about that, because that's a completely different type of, we'll just call it funnel, right? Than your referral source, how to work them, expectations and all that. So if that becomes a good problem for you, I want to meet with you for sure on that. Now, you also talk about content. You're looking to try to have more content.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much in my brain, and like people call me all day asking how these loan programs work, because nobody knows. And if I could just, I don't know, put it on a video or somehow describe it so I can mass send it out, that would be so helpful.
Yeah, so here's what I'm doing for content. I'll share with you what I'm doing. And so if you've looked at my Facebook, Instagram, and all this stuff, sites I haven't been on a long time, YouTube, you're starting to see a explosion of more DJ content. My entire career has always been paid ads, and there's nothing wrong with the paid ad stuff here, but I want to create some of that natural reach, which is working on. Is that I'm first getting just dirty doing it. When I say dirty, it's just that I'm just taking massive action, and without any concern with the sense of, does anybody ever look at it? It's just, I want to get in the habit of creating it, getting my mind to think about it, and the consistency of doing it. Like for instance, like with the hotline is like every 2 weeks I'm gonna do the hotline, and then the opposite week I'm gonna record these videos. I'm getting this stuff locked in stone before I start putting bigger resources into it. And it's like the person that is they hey, I'm gonna get in shape, I'm gonna start going to the gym, and they go spend $5,000 on clothes, supplements, and all this stuff and gyms, but they don't end up going to the gym, right? It's like people spend too much money and time on the things that don't matter, which first let's implement, and then we'll get the resources behind you. So I recommend that. Just start. And like, for instance, now I'm starting to interview people that will help me create the content. When I say create, is like edit it better, creating some of the images and stuff for me. And then, but also is that they'll start to have all of my past of things I've done to help them think, like, how does DJ talk? How does DJ write? And so it's as similar as to me as possible. It's kind of like the SOP we talked about for yourself, for all the products that the nuances, the guidelines, and all of that. But now it's for the marketing, is be able to get that out there, and then they can help then facilitate it. So I would just get started. You can't go wrong if you just get started.
Yeah, and I actually love this setup that you have right here where I can see you writing on the paper because that's what I need to do to like show people what I'm talking about because when
Yep.
I say it, they don't know, they don't get it.
Yeah, the writing is huge, and there's a few ways you can do that. Like if on Zoom, if you can do it, like you could share. I have an iPad here. You can't see this. I'll put it here. An iPad here. Where Zoom makes it really easy to write on it. But I like the paper. It's just bigger and all this stuff. Getting the setup is not that. It's kind of janky, but it works, right? And then post edit, like after the recording, an editor can make it prettier. They can cut off things that's not, that's not showing, make it brighter, and all of that for post editing to make it better. So you're getting the worst version of what this is going to be, honestly. But yeah, it's just doing it. And then one of the things I always think about is, okay, I'm gonna do it for a bit, and then I'm gonna think, what's one or two things I can try to improve next time? Maybe it's okay. It's something as simple as the lighting is not as good, or maybe I need a lavalier mic or something so the quality of the audio is slightly better, or I'm gonna open up with a better first line or two of a hook, just those things. If for me, if I think about all the things that I can do, I won't do it. Or either that I'm just going to get overwhelmed and start thinking I'll never get better at it.
Yeah.
Here's a fun thing to do, by the way, is go to some creators that you've watched. Now, some of them have deleted their old stuff because they're embarrassed, which I don't think they should. They should be like, look at the growth of it. But go look at, you can go like YouTube, for instance, and you can search like the oldest, and you see their content from their first types of content they have done. And which is kind of cool because you see where they are today, 4 or 5 years later, 10 years later, but then you see their first stuff, they just got started, which is really actually refreshing. And I actually just saw, they reminded me of this, Alex Ramosi, a guy I follow quite often, he just released a video, it's like only like 7 minutes long, of his first ads, his first videos, his first trainings he did, and it's like, gosh, I'm better than he was when he started then, that gives me hope. And so that's my recommendation. Just take action, but with the idea of taking a small improvement. But I do personally think, like if I had to choose one or two things to focus on first, it's going to be what we talked about, improving your operations. Is because if you make that, it's going to make, you're going to feel so much better when you start slamming yourself with more demand.
Okay. Yeah, I think one other way, so I'm tired of actually working all this stuff by myself, and I was like, well, maybe I just hire, or just bring on team members and let them do the loan and be responsible for the whole thing and then just pay me passively. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I wouldn't get there yet because that's something potentially to talk about, but you got to get all this first because you're so good at what you do. And to you, it probably seems like second nature. How doesn't everybody else get this? Mm-hmm. It's just they don't. And so you want to make sure you have everything documented before you bring somebody else on. Otherwise, you're just going to have a more expensive headache. That's just what's going to happen.
And I'll get more frustrated.
Oh, you'd be even more frustrated. The more you spend, the bigger the frustration is for those kinds of things.
True. Okay, so I need to just get some training out, which can then be repurposed as content also.
100%. And then as you scale your team, you have the training. It gets the next person in there better. It's just the time right now to put that in there. It's a pain, but it needs to be done. And when it's done, it's going to help you scale.
Okay.
And if you want, just a side note, if you want to, I can message you after this or message me and Chris. If you want to talk about that front end position, we can talk about it, see if it's a fit or not. If it's not, we understand.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else?
No, this is good stuff.
All right. Well, I apologize for the technical issues I've been having with the camera and all that stuff, but it's all good.
It's all good. It still works.
Good. Reach out anytime. Don't be a stranger.
Okay, awesome. Oh, are you going to Florida?
I don't think I can make that. When are the dates?
The 29th through the 4th, I think.
I'm gonna see if I can make that out there, at least for some of it. That'd be nice if I can do that. All right, cool. Hopefully I can see you there. All right, see ya. All right, bye.